Good morning to you. Good morning to you. This will be a very special day.
Good morning, Internet. Starfield has been delayed.
Hello?
Starfield and Redfall both delayed. Seriously?
Koala, sweetie, don't you worry about that, me son. Phil recognises the problem. I recognise the problem? We got it all under control.
It's every game.
Babe, don't you worry. We're doing a June event that focuses on the next 12 months. The next 12 months? June to June, it's gonna be cash day. No more of these games announced 4 years ago, they're still getting delays. They're gonna love it. What you see here, you get within the year. Our kid came up with it.
Well, what are you going to show there?
They're all gonna be there. Starfield, Redfall, Forza, all the classics.
You're not worried about a backlash of a lackluster show if there's no surprises?
There's gonna be plenty of surprises, don't you worry about that. We got Kojima.
Kojima? Wow, and his game's going to be released in the next 12 months.
No.
But
Everything else the next 12 months. Guaranteed.
so what else do you have?
Well, we got Arc 2.
And that's going to be released in the next 12 months.
Probably. We got that game called Silk Song.
And that's going to be released in the next 12 months.
Sure, why not? And we got this new game called Flintlock.
Next 12 months?
Definitely. And we got all the big hitters, like Forza and Starfield. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's just the foundation. Next year going forward, we're going to have all sorts of big games showing that you're not going to have to wait years for. Like Hellblade 2.
That was announced in 2019.
Whoa, lighten up, me chap. It's going to be fine. No more delays.
Good morning, Internet. Starfield has been delayed. Yes, after the promising message of last year's June event, Starfield has missed that 12-month window, and is now apparently launching on the 6th of September. Of course, a few extra months wait isn't the end of the world, but one does have to wonder what this means for the likes of Forza and Microsoft's June events going forward. Are we to once again get nothing but CG teasers of games we won't even see gameplay of for the next 4+ years? Or are they to try and build on the ever-crumbling foundation they've built last year, and again try the 12-month format? June will tell. In other news, proving that the Series S is not a potato, this week saw it turn into a toaster and an Oreo. News of Sony having $5 billion left for acquisitions and investments led to fresh speculation they'll buy Square Enix, whilst Forspoken sold less than expected.
Yeah, okay, that is something I do know.
And Sony suggests to the CMA that Microsoft could purposely release buggy versions of Call of Duty on PlayStation. Here's Raccoon with Twittery Corner.
This week on Twittery Corner, we're going to go through some reactions on this tweet. So let's see what this handsome fellow had to say. Sony suggested to the CMA that Microsoft could release a buggy version of Call of Duty on PlayStation, which could make gamers lose confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue to play Call of Duty. Seriously? That's their down smiley face. So just what was said. Third, swiftly detecting any diversions from and ensuring compliance with a commitment as to technical and graphical quality would be challenging. For example, Microsoft could release a PlayStation version of Call of Duty where bugs and errors emerge only in the game's final level, or after later updates. Even if such degradations could swiftly be detected, any remedy would likely come too late, by which time the gaming community would have lost confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue to play Call of Duty. Indeed, as Modern Warfare 2 attests, Call of Duty is most often purchased in just the first few weeks of release. If it becomes known that the game's performance on PlayStation was worse than on Xbox, Call of Duty gamers could decide to switch to Xbox for fear of playing their favourite game as a second-class or less competitive venue. After a decade of exclusive content, why they suddenly concerned with games on other platforms feeling second-class? I'm sure the replies will make sense of it all. That means they do it with their partner with other studios, and this is why the devs have to update always the version of the Series X. Boy, if I didn't think Sony liked to sabotage Xbox versions of games before, it's certainly odd that this is a concern when have a lot of Xbox games on PlayStation that don't have these problems. Weird that they accuse someone of doing this, of all things. Now that's funny considering the games they partner with tend to be buggy on Xbox. Seems like they're snitching on themselves about their partnership requirements. It's like they fear that other companies behave like they secretly do. I guarantee this is exactly what Sony did with the Callisto Protocol on Xbox, and many other games. This sounds like Sony is protecting the practices that they do. Confessions come in many forms, LOL. Aren't there already examples of the Xbox version of the game being worse than the PlayStation version? Just another example of Sony being terrified of Microsoft doing to them what they've been doing this whole time. Convinced Sony has done this to Xbox and PC now, you don't pull this conspiracy theory out of nowhere. Yes, it is very suspicious. So, could that mean Sony could release a buggier version of MLB The Show on Xbox? Are they going to sabotage their game? Just saying. LMAO, Sony already pays Activision money to make the PS5 version superior. Also, MLB The Show on Xbox runs worse than the PS5 version. Yes, this has happened many times on Xbox also, and some games I see on YouTube and Digital Foundry have poor performance on Xbox rather than PlayStation. PlayStation does the same thing. I mean, that is actively something they could do. We all know that during the PS3 Xbox 360 era, Microsoft paid a lot to have their version of the game always play better. Now they just had the marketing deals to offer maps first. You still got the same day one content. Hasn't there been cases of Microsoft affiliated games actually running better on PS5 than the Xbox? Like Atomic Heart I think was most recent. I think this is something they are doing, and why the weaker PS5 is outperforming releases before patches further down the line. Well, the fact that it has to have patches further down the line shows you that they're prioritising the version that sells the best. Actually, Sony has a point there. For example, The Outer Worlds didn't release on the PS4 Pro version, but it has an Xbox One X version on release. Well, that was because Sony neglected an FPS boost. And it wasn't even published by Microsoft. This is one of the reasons I don't trust analysts from Digital Foundry. Not to discredit them, but until the game's fully optimised, nothing should be trusted. Well, you did discredit Digital Foundry, and the game should be optimised when released. Sony have nothing to fear with Microsoft bringing out games slightly more broken than other platforms. Activision were doing this long before. Even the Series S ran the title 120 frames per second earlier than the PS5. You mean like Sony most likely pays for Activision to keep cross-play Switch exclusive to PlayStation? Until recently, most multi-format releases were worse on PlayStation, Skyrim being the most prolific when first released. Even now the PlayStation Online service is hawking compared to Xbox, and I own all consoles so I'm not a fanboy. But Skyrim released 17 years ago, and most multi-platform games were worse because of the cell processor. Sony scraping the bottom of the barrel there, I wanted a PS5 soon, but this makes you lose any respect that Sony had. The second Sony owns something, it just doesn't go to Xbox, and they complain when they still get games. Even a buggy version of COD on PlayStation would be more playable than COD of War on the Xbox, surely. Surely! I suggest Sony starts making their own shooters again. Yeah, give us a new Killzone. Oh look, it's our friend Lulu. Microsoft opted Sony, the dominant console leader for well over a decade with 80% of the market share, a 10-year agreement on far better terms than Sony would have ever got from us. We've also offered Sony guaranteed long-term access to Call of Duty, but they keep refusing. Why? The CEO of SIE answered the question in Brussels. In his words, I don't want a new Call of Duty deal, I just want to block your merger. Now does that really sound like something Jim Ryan would say? This type of argument is disrespectful to all the developers working in the gaming industry. This is one of the most humiliating things I've ever seen a company willingly put itself through. And that's where we'll leave it this week. This has been Twittery Corner.
depending on when you are, where you are, and who you are. Good morning, good evening, and good night.
Welcome to the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase. Today, we're doing something we've never done before. For the first time ever, our entire show is focused on games you can play over the next 12 months. You're gonna see more gameplay than we've ever had in a show. Industry-defining